Father Fabio, I have been experiencing tribulations in my family, and I would love a word of guidance. My parents, both are almost 80 years old and over 40 years of marriage. They are now living a marital crisis. She verbally assaults him with offenses and accusations. They are constant fights. He revolts. Leaves her alone even though he knows he needs care. She has experienced health problems and has a very limited view, and sometimes even talks about suicide. I do not interfere with their lives, but my mother always charges me that I need to fix him. That I have to change his thinking. And that I have to talk to him. Father Fabio, how should I act? Since I have no experience of marriage, what I have been trying to tell them is that they need to know how to grow old together, especially because each one's defects, the differences, existed since the beginning of the marriage. But when I say something, my mother understands that I am in favor of my father and vice versa. Thank you. May God bless. It's my daughter. It's really very difficult. Imagine, almost 80-year-old couple facing marital crises. And it's complicated because old age is the time when we need to have a tranquility to say goodbye to the good of life, isn't it? I think getting older is you to make this awareness. I'm saying goodbye to time. I'm saying goodbye to life. I'm saying goodbye to the experience of being who I am here, materially as I can be. From the moment I start to create conflicts and let the difficulties plague me, I say goodbye to life. Now it is likely, my daughter, that the marital crisis is a process that has been coming from afar, right? It is not possible that differences have arisen now. The problem is that sometimes in old age, our defects are very sharp. I always like to say, look, at the age of 10, it's easy to change. At 20, it gets a little harder. At 30, the difficulty increases a little more. At 40 is almost impossible. So we have to be very careful not to crystallize our effects. Psychology calls this crystallization, right? What is it? It has become a crystal, and now is difficult to break. That's why, if you have the opportunity to overcome your defects today, don't waste time. It's more malleable, it's easier to deal with. You have more willingness to change. Because then, as time goes by, we're getting hard, right? So the time of change is the time of youth. I'm not saying that old people cannot be modified. They can, but it is much more suffered. It is much more difficult. And then our defects, which were not careful in their youth, tend to become a pump ready to be exploded in our old age. So how can we deal with the defects that were crystallized? Becoming aware of them. And the best way, Fatima, to interfere with the marital life of our parents is very lovingly proposing a conversation. And sometimes with really shock treatment, looking in the eye and speaking. Want to end life fighting? Isn't it time to start also proposing a little playful activity? Because sometimes old age, guys, it is missing. Lack of playful activity, that is. Entertainment lack. Do a physical activity. Have the opportunity to throw out of these energies that are getting accumulated. The person, at the age of 80, is needed to channel these energies that are often accumulated. I remember. Today we almost no longer have. But there in Ann, where I was born, I remember there was the Mothers Club. Well, what was the Mothers Club? A center where they collected old fabrics, flaps that came from factories. And there the women sometimes spent 2-3 hours in the afternoon. I remember my mother participating in the Mothers Club. They learned embroidery there. They engaged in craft work. And there they had the opportunity to do the purification a little, right? To throw away. Because manual work, it is doing very well for our head. And that is why he gets better, the one who has a habit. One who knows how to make a knitting, who occupies the heart and head. That doesn't have a vacant space, right? That's why crosswords are doing very well for older people. Because Life teaches us that as stations change, there is always a reality that remains in nature. It may be that a station comes and remove all leaves from a tree. It may be another season and fill it with flowers. It may be that, modifying the season, these leaves lose the vitality, the viso, and fall. But one thing is certain: the root remains in whatever the season. There is a livelihood in the plant that makes her remain alive even when everything is contrary to her. The plant wisdom that teaches us that in winter times it is necessary that all the sap that is dispersed on the leaves and in the flowers will rest at the root. You go through life all the time doing this experience. It may be that at times of your life some people were vital. They were very alive in their history at that time. But suddenly the time went by, the station was modifying, and that person stopped being part of his story, stopped being part of his life. But you can identify that throughout your life, although you have passed numerous stations for you. There are some that stayed. To these people, we can call them roots. These are people who, even with time changes, even with the changes in the seasons, they are still there. We are planting trees. We grow like trees. We are uniting as trees. It is the poetic license. It is the meaning that goes beyond the word. And we all need to go through the constant experience of treeing also. To throw root in one's life, and to allow other people to also to release roots in the land of our history. Because what holds us in life, my people, and what makes us realize all that we have to live every day, are those roots that we look, and that we can count on them. It is those people who remain even when the seasons change. As I said here, so many people went through their life, and at the joy station they were all there. But suddenly, when the time came from the difficulty, everyone left. It is the realities that are fleeting. They are the people who are fleeting. But we do not survive from ticketsai. The human being increasingly needed realities that are definitive, realities that we know will remain. There may even be change, but they will not abandon us. It may even change, but that root will remain there. Even because we can only be happy as we are trees that are planted with fertile roots. This week I was passing by a road and commented to a friend who was on the side that I find very interesting how the bamboo grow. You never see a lone bamboo, right? Because he knows he doesn't survive the winds. If he wants to stand, he has to grow along with others. Because when the strong wind comes, they all form a protection. They are strong together. If you blow a heavy wind on top of a single bamboo, he will fall, he will die, he will break, he will give in. But if he is next to others, if he makes that thicket, if he makes that great set, he will not be broken. Because they will obey the movement of the wind, but will not give in to make death definitive. They will not allow death to be definitive. One will help the other to stand up. In life, it's like this, my people. We will know how to stand as we are treated, planted together, because the beauty of life is here, both joys and sadness. They can only be lived as we have someone to combine the verb with us. Otherwise, life becomes unbearable. Try to live a sadness alone for you to see. It will be unbearable. Try to live a joy alone. There will be so much taste. We need to divide. Whether in joy or sadness, we need someone on our side. Someone who helps us understand what is happening. And this is the beautiful Christian meaning. To love and be love. It is you to be planted together to help the others win. He remains standing. You are planted together so that the moment the wind is contrary to you, he who is by your side helps you stand up. This program, he wants to be for you today. Who knows? A small tree planted by your side so that our word, our music, Our reflection, who knows today, can represent someone who really is by your side. Someone who is really planted as root to give you the security you may need today. And maybe spreading this song, this mystique that music brings us. We can treat the world, and tomorrow we can plant each other in other lives. And tomorrow, we can allow other lives to peak. Sometimes I am impressed to see how meaningless for life. What is the meaning of life, my people? It is what gives bitter, that gives connects. That is what makes us every day want to get up, to live. Because a meaning is sewing us inside. And the meaning of life in the life of the Christian is a sense directly linked to Jesus. I learn from him all the time. I live with him my experience of being who I am, to balance myself so I am not so disharmonious where I go. Violence is born just as human disharmonies prevail. Sometimes we are unbalanced for very little. Have you observed this? Sometimes you are unbalanced for very little. A difficulty you face, and it seems that everything has lost meaning. It seems that nothing else goes forward. This is a very big danger. Unprepared. Sometimes good preparation will give conditions for these people to reduce the violence of the world. And then I speak of all kinds of violence. May this physical violence of someone who goes and harms the other, that the other who removes life, but also these veiled violence, which are behavioral violence. When you begin to objectify a person, when you do not have the least respect for them, when you explore the work of the other, when you lie to each other, when you deceive it, when you betray, when you are unfaithful. All this is violence. And I dare say that body violence, this hurts when it happens. Now the violence of the soul, this sometimes lasts a lifetime. Because there are people who are raped every day from the effective point of view with the words, "How can a word assault us, my God? How can a word hurt us?" It hurts so much that sometimes it becomes an effective infection. You turn a whirlwind inside you, which trigger other unhappiness, other dissatisfaction and disharmonies are established within us. So I believe that our great effort to reduce this violence and give God this place that has always been his and must be, is precisely that we are aware that the first place from which God is taken is my heart and yours. So if he is the place, if my heart is the first place from which God is expelled, he must also be the place where God is replaced. Then, by assuming with God this commitment to be a Christian, I put God in charge of my affection, and I do everything to make my attitudes balance, which is very bad. When we are unbalanced, we end up driving people away from ourselves. We end up generating loneliness for ourselves. And in our imbalance, we establish a process that will unbeaten us a lot. I think it's worth every day. Be careful. Today, I want to realize what within me is needing. What is disorder so that I will have the right to rejoice? Have you seen how we have been intolerant? First, the past is a reality, is this time that no longer there is. That you have no way to go back to it. You have no way to rescue it. But somehow is alive within us. First, there is no magic formula for forgetting the past. The past, we accommodate inside us as we understand it. Why can't we forget? Why are things we forget? And why are we things that we don't forget? We don't forget what was traumatic. Either traumatized because it was too good, or traumatized because it was too bad. The indifferent, the middle ground. We don't remember. From time to time that someone speaks, it is true, we lived it, we went there, we saw, we found him. These are the brands. There are facts that mark us, and there are facts that do not mark us. What was brand? Or because it was too good? Or because it was so bad? They can disturb our experience today. For example, if you lived a wonderful job in the past, you were very well paid, you climbed several posts, you were promoted, had a super positive experience of the past in relation to that job. Suddenly you lost your job. You get stuck in the good time it was. It hinders you the same as getting stuck in bad time. This is not the same as that who has experienced an extremely negative experience of the past. I worked in a very suffered place. I was very undervalued. I was very mistreated. Had no recognition. These are two brands that will stay for life. Then the one who worked in a very bad place got a great job. But every time he's there, in that positive experience, he risks being brooding over what wasn't good there at that time. See? One was positively marked, and the other was negatively marked. The two suffer the evils of the past. One because it was very good, and another because it was so bad. Because when they attach themselves to what is once, what happened, it was good. He forgets to find out what can be good today. He forgets to strive for what is not so good. But it can be good today. And the one who holds to what was bad is the risk of not knowing how to taste what is being good today. You reconcile with the past. You allow life to be more intense today. Why, where do you put the strength of your life? What has it been? Or what is being? If you put your attention on everything that was too good in the past, you risk becoming a museum. You just remember what you have done. I've been there. I've done that already. Right? You are no longer being. Why? You are combining your life in the past. Past that does not pass, bitter. Or because you wanted to live it again and can't, it gets embittered. The weather was so good, it was so special to be there, but it's over. It was good. It was special. But it's over. It was too bad, I couldn't stand that, but it's over. Everything is over. What was good and what was bad is over. How will you seize the power of this past? Opening your eyes to what is being the present. And living well, the gift also consists of opening some door for this future. Because you live the gift well, you are preparing your future well. Therefore, my people, often unhappiness, occurs in our lives because we hold on to the experiences that are no longer ours, which can no longer be modified. And everything that cannot be modified becomes a bitterness within us. So if you are very used to being brooding out what you once went, to remember too much. Wow. That was too good. That was it. That was, watch out, because you risk not being in the attention of what is happening today, without having each part in every fragment of life that is around you today. Soon, right, say goodbye to this moment so never to land in your hands. Ready? It will never land on your hands this moment now. Or you live well this time, this moment, or soon you will be bitter, because you have not lived right. First, the past is a reality. It is this time that there is no longer, that you have no way to go back to it. You have no way to rescue it. But somehow is alive within us. First, there is no magic formula for forgetting the past. The past we accommodated inside us as we understand it. Why can't we forget? Why are things we forget? And why are we things that we don't forget? We don't forget what was traumatic. Either traumatized because it was too good or traumatized because it was too bad. The indifferent, the middle ground. We don't remember. From time to time that someone speaks, it is true. We lived it. We went there. We saw. We found it. These are the brands. There are facts that mark us, and there are facts that do not mark us. What was brand? either because it was too good or because it was so bad, can disturb our experience today. For example, if you lived a wonderful job in the past, you were very well paid. You climbed several posts. You were promoted. Had a super positive experience of the past in relation to that job. Suddenly you lost your job. You get stuck in the good time it was. It hinders you the same as getting stuck in bad time. It is not the same as the one who has experienced an extremely negative experience of the past. I worked in a very suffering place. I was very undervalued. I was very bolted. These are two brands that will stay for life. Then the one who worked in a very bad place got a great job. But every time he's there, in that positive experience, he risks being brooding over what wasn't good there at that time. See? One was positively marked, and the other was negatively marked. The two suffer the evils of the past. One because it was very good, and another because it was so bad. Because when they attach themselves to what is once, what happened? It was good. He forgets to find out what can be good today. He forgets to strive for what is not so good, but it can be good today. And the one who holds to what was bad is the risk of not knowing how to taste what is being good today. You reconcile with the past. You allow life to be more intense today. Why, where do you put the strength of your life? What has it been or what is being? If you put your attention on everything that was too good in the past, you risk becoming a museum. You just remember what you have done. I've been that. I've done that. Already, right? You are no longer being. Why? You are combining your life in the past. Past that does not pass bitter. Or because you wanted to live it again and can't, it gets embittered. Time was so good, it was so special to be there, but it's over. It was good, it was special. But it's over. It was too bad, I couldn't stand that, but it's over. Everything is over. What was good and what was bad is over. How will you cease the power of this past? Opening your eyes to what is being the present. And living well the gift also consists of opening some door for this future. Because you live the gift well. You are preparing your future well. Therefore, my people, often unhappiness, occurs in our lives because we hold on to the experiences that are no longer ours, which can no longer be modified. And everything that cannot be modified becomes a bitterness within us. So, if you are very used to being brooding out what you once went, to remember too much. Wow. That was too good. That was it. Watch out, because you risk not being in the attention of what is happening today, without having each part in every fragment of life that is around you today. Soon. Light. Right. Say goodbye to this moment, so never to land in your hands. Ready? It will never land on your hands this moment now. Or you live well this time, this moment, or soon you will be bitter. Because you have not lived well. I don't know, but you may feel very alone with your questions. It is very common these days. We have no one to talk to. It's very difficult. I often say that the worst loneliness we can face in life is not that of the body. It is not the feeling of having a lonely body. No, the worst loneliness we may face in life is that we have no one to think. We are not having who to share what we feel. We don't have the opportunity to sit next door and without saying many words, without articulating many things. We have the opportunity to say so. You don't know what I went through today. The most beautiful is, you've heard me so many times. Understand, enter each other's tent. So, if I want to understand you, I enter your tent. I see life for its focus, for its environment. If you want to understand me, you enter the tent with me. You will observe the world from my place. This is very good when you feel understood, when you don't have to multiply words to another, have access to what you are feeling, what you are thinking. So, it's very healthy when we build such an intimacy. I am still the first responsible for my happiness. But I find people who are willing to live with me this search. So when I feel lonely, what is the worst loneliness that plagues me? It is sometimes not having to think about. It is the loneliness of thought. It's loneliness, perhaps the worst. When you married a man with such a woman, and you sleep in the same bed all your life, and you feel you can't even think loudly, because your world doesn't matter to the other. The world of the other does not interest you. Your feelings don't matter to anyone. That house full of people, and you so lonely with your pain, and you so alone with your hurts, with your feelings, and no one will somehow approach. It's okay. When we lack this, we create the ways for us to get. At least there is a small understanding that makes us stand the moment. That's why I'm saying you may experience the worst of all solidity. You don't have the opportunity to have someone who listens, who is interested in you. I know it's hard. I know it's very difficult. That's why I have created every opportunity for us to be able to talk. That for me it is good too, you know. I never forget. So being here with you, somehow, talking, participating in the space that you allow me is an ineffable pleasure. Because I am also stocked when I talk to you, when I have the opportunity to share my life with you. And me from the bottom of my heart, to me, since a boy, all the pain in the world touched me very, very easily. I live everything here. I'm not flower of the skin. I'm not a guy who keeps to feel later. No, life impacts me all the time. And the pains of people, they are mine too, by vocation. It is impossible for us to be a priest and be indifferent to what people suffer. So, as a priest, I know my role. And I know that what you sometimes need is someone who listens to you or someone who talks to you. My participation is only valid in your life if it is to awaken you, to wake you up you. First, for you to be aware that you are first responsible for your happiness. You are the first responsible for your happiness. If you happen to need me, I always want to be here. Ever. A commitment of never allowing my social networks that my place to meet you may be an obstacle to happiness for them is to add. We gave the example. Some people seek the escape in drug, in violence, in socialized prostitution, seek escape in alcohol, and we were saying that we have 1,000 wonderful escapes. We get drunk from friends. We get drunk on good literature. We get drunk on music, because that's it that we need to do. So many wonderful things here at our disposal. So many wonderful artists who have created spectacular, unique works to make us get out of us and not be alienated, right? Because sometimes we have the impression that leaving us is to stay there forever. No, it's equal to the climb to Mount Tabo, that the disciples had the temptation to say, "Sir, let's get some tents here." We set up some in the intention of our prophets, our ancestors, and we stay here the rest of our life. We never go down to the plain again. And Jesus said, no, we go up. It is to redo the spirit. And then we go down to live better with those who need us. My dear ones, may God bless our life, our hearts. If you think this content was important to you and it can be for someone, I recommend it. May God bless you a lot. Never lack this first movement that makes you the first responsible for your happiness. I find it interesting a person here saying, Father Fabio, love is an imposition, a duty, or is it a virtue? What do you think, Christian? Good question, isn't it? Is love a duty, an imposition, or is it a virtue? What is this guy wanting to say? Precisely, if it was easy, Christian is saying, it would not be a commandment. It is interesting that love condenses both possibilities. Happy from the one who managed to love because there was natural empathy. What is love? It is the process of wanting well. We talk so much of love that we risk understanding the true meaning of love. To love is to want well. When you tell the other, I love you so much that when I was a child, I just thought I could say, I love you. The man to the woman. It's not like this. We didn't have it in the past. It was a typical expression of those who were in love, of a love that erotic could say, or in love. I remember the first time we started hearing this. The father tells his son, the friend tells the other, Our Lady. We were afraid of this expression. Say I love you. When I have the courage to say that, it means I want you well. Wanting good may be a gift, but it is also an imposition. From the moment I live, the dynamics of Christianity within me, I have by obligation want everyone well. Guys, here comes a very subtle distinction, which can be dangerous if we don't understand well. Wanting well is always favorable to the happiness of the other. I will do absolutely nothing to harm your happiness. I will do absolutely nothing to disturb your life, and I will always be committed to your good. I will not be violent with you. All forms of violence. I would not be aggressive with you with my words. I will not be deducted. Lightness. This is a word that we need return. We are very deducted from each other. Sometimes we feel the right to tell the other everything, when I really don't have the right to say everything to each other if I have no intimacy with him. Sometimes we go beyond the territories of others, and sometimes we say more than we should say. Sometimes we are invasive. We ask more than we should ask. The other day I lived a situation there in Belo Horizonte. A great friend of mine suddenly told a story that she was so annoyed, so angry, because someone was invasive with her. Asked a question that was not part of the context of that intimacy. I had no intimacy for the question to interfere so much in life, and she was upset, annoyed, and right. Wanting well, that's it. I have a Christian commitment to the world. I will not live to do harm. I will not live to defame. Even though I do not agree with the other. Even though I have no communion with a way of thinking about the other. I can treat the differences, but I will respect. I don't need to attack. I don't need to be rude. I don't need to use words that will be less, that will humiliate. There is no need for it. I may not agree with each other, but I will be smoothly not to agree with elegance. This is part of life. It's cradle. We learn, or then we will run after to have. We talk less. We are not so repetitive. People are not so spathy in our communications. You have that limit of to what extent you can guess in the other's life. But you want well. But it doesn't mean you have to establish close bonds, because you will have your friendship group. You will have your proximity group. This is your right. And it will only be part of your intimacy. You will only enter your home. You will only be part of your world. Those with whom you have established a bond of trust, security, isn't it? Of faithfulness. No one gets friends overnight. It is construction. Friendship is construction. Now love, it will always be a rule for any and all relationships that want to be a Christian. I lost here. The person who said was, I don't know what the surname would do. And I remember she was saying like this, Father. She, by the way, was living a conflict because Twitter is so complicated. Sometimes the person wants advice here. No. This is much more interesting to propose a reflection, because in 140 characters we can't handle issues, sometimes so serious that people present here. Even because Twitter is not MSN, for us to stay so many people. So it is a place that we can even propose another reflection, but it is a very restricted place of communication. But this lighter communication we do in every day that I find it absolutely healthy to approach. We feel closer to people. But she was saying a lot in this context, Father. I have difficulty repaying love to someone who treats me very well. Then she asked, is love virtue? Or is it an imposition? I would say that it will always be an imposition, and from time to time will be in us a wonderful experience of gratuity, of virtue, that it accomplishes us a lot, and that are situations that you will find for life, and that you will know how to differentiate when it is an imposition. I need to love because I need to respect. I will not denigrate. I will not get your territory dirty. Because I have respect for you, I take good care of who you are, but at the same time,